right, welcome to Math 107B, a Unit 1 test review. All right, remember, you need to do the Part 2 test first. Submitting the Part 2 test to the Dropbox triggers access to the Part 1. If you don't submit the Part 2, you can't get to the Part 1. So, the Part 2 test has a couple of different questions. One of them, you have a compound inequality. Remember, you are not choosing between one of these two. You would be surprised how many students see this "or" here and they think, oh, I need to solve this one, or I can choose to solve this one. Not true. You need to solve both of them. It's a compound inequality. All right, so let's solve them both. Subtract 3 from both sides, and we get 2x is less than 2. Divide by 2, and we get x is less than 1. Solving the other portion of the combined inequality, we'll add 7 to both sides. Add 7, and we get that x is greater than 5. We now need to graph it. If x is less than 1, we have an open circle with a bar going this way. X is greater than 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open circle because it is not equal to, with a bar going this way. This is a disjunction. You will also have an absolute value inequality. Remember, what you need to do is to solve it as much as you can. This one has already gotten to that point. We can now drop the absolute value bars and make two separate equations. One we do exactly the same. One we drop the bars, we flip the sign, and we change that whatever is on the right side of the inequality to a negative. Then we solve just like regular. We'll subtract 5 from both sides. We get negative x is greater than negative 2. Subtract 5 from both sides, and you get negative x is less than negative 8. Divide by negative 1. Whenever you divide by a negative, you have to swap the sign. So negative 2 divided by negative 1 is positive 2. Same here. If we divide by a negative, we have to swap the sign, the operator. Negative 8 divided by negative 1 is positive 8. We will need to graph this. 1, 2, x is less than 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. X is greater than 8. For your graph, you can place items on your test electronically by using the Insert tab up near the top right and then clicking on Shape, or you can do it by hand and scan in your results. Part 1 has 11 questions. This is the computer scored portion. They're worth 4 points each. Take your time. Don't rush. Remember that you can take it twice, but use that retake wisely. The computer remembers your last score, not your best score. Okay, if given the graph for an inequality, be able to recognize the correct mathematical statement. Obviously on the test you'll be given 4 choices to choose from. Hint, whenever you're doing something like this, look for open and closed circles. Usually you can eliminate half of the options just if you can recognize that is a closed circle. I'm going to have something that is greater than or equal to. And it looks like x can be all of these numbers here that are greater than negative 2. Bingo. Alright, you'll also have to be able to recognize the mathematical statement that goes with a combined inequality. Remember, look for those open and closed circles. This one's open. We're not going to have an equal to. This one is closed, and we will. So, what have we got here? We've got 5, and it looks like x can be the numbers that are bigger than 5, but not equal to 5. What have we got over here? we've got 9. And it looks like x is those numbers that are smaller and equal to 9. We have correctly identified the statement that goes with that graph. Be able to solve inequalities like this. We need to isolate x. How are we going to isolate x? Break it apart from that 4. It's currently being multiplied by 4, so if we divide by 4, it undoes it. 4 divided by 4 gives us 1. Negative 12 divided by 4 gives us negative 3. Get my mouse up there so I can forward the page. All right, you'll also have some inequalities that have some added steps to them. Here we will need to distribute that 5 to every member of the parentheses. So 5 times 12 minus 5 times x, or 5 is greater than 60 minus 5x. We want to get x all by itself, so let's subtract 60 from both sides. That gives us negative 55 is greater than negative 5x. Divide both sides by negative 5. But if we divide by a negative, we have to flip the operator. Negative 5 divided by negative 5 gives us positive 1. Negative 55 divided by negative 5 gives us positive 11. X is greater than 11. Be able to translate some English statements into math expressions. You'll be given some word sentences, something like this. The sum of two consecutive integers is at least 47. So the sum, we know we're going to be adding something together. Two consecutive even integers, well, one of them is going to be x, and if we want the next number that's even, it's going to be that number plus 2. We know that it has some relationship to 47. It has this quantity right here is at least 47. It could be 48, it could be 49, it could be 532. It is equal to or greater than 47. Next one, a number that is greater than negative 2 and less than 5. So we got some number. We know that it is bigger than negative 2 and that it is less than 5. We made a combined inequality. The last one, x is no more than 5. X can be no bigger than 5. That means it could be equal to 5, but it could be 4, and it could be 3, and it could be negative 15. All right, be able to solve combined inequalities like this. We have x hanging out with a 26. We need to get rid of it. But remember, combined inequalities have 3 parts. And if we subtract or add something to one part, we need to do it to all 3 parts. So the first part, 28 minus 26, will give us 2. Bring down the operator. We got our 2x. 26 minus 26 gives us 0. 32 minus 26 gives us 6. Just like with addition and subtraction, if we do it to one part, we have to do it to all 3 parts. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. We have solved this inequality, and if we needed to, we could graph it, but on the computer scored test, there will not be that option. All right, be able to solve absolute value equations like this. Remember, absolute value is a distance, and we have to create 2 different equations to reflect what could be happening on the right-hand side of a number line and the left-hand side. Because it could be 7 units to the left of 0 also. Now that we've done that, we can easily solve. X is equal to 3. Subtract 4 from both sides here, and we get x is equal to negative 11. All right. We also need to be able to solve absolute value inequalities. Remember, that could mean that x could be greater than 7 units from 0. How do we do this? We still need to make our two equations. We keep one just the same. The other one, we flip the operator and change it to a negative. We have solved that, and if we needed to, we could graph it. In the computer scored section, it's not really applicable. All right. Be able to solve absolute value inequalities like this. Now we'll have some added steps that we need to take care of. However, same rules still apply. Since there's nothing hanging around outside of those absolute value bars that we can take care of first, we can break this down into two separate equations without the absolute value bars. Remember the other one, we do the same thing, except we flip the operator and change it to a negative. Now we can solve each. Subtract 8 from both sides, and we get negative x is less than or equal to negative 2, but we don't want to know what negative x is, we want to know what x is. So we'll divide by 1. That gives us positive x, but since we divided by a negative, we have to flip the operator. Negative 2 divided by negative 1, positive 2. We'll do this, solve the other side now. We get negative x is greater than or equal to negative 14. Again, we need to divide by negative 1 to get a positive value of x. Since we divided by a negative, we have to flip the operator. Negative 14 divided by negative 1 is positive 14. X is greater than 2 and less than 14. Awesome. If you are feeling confident working these types of problems, and I suggest you go through the recording, pause it where you need to, work it on your own, then let the recording go, and then you can check your answers. Anyway, if you're feeling confident about those, you will do well on this test. If you have any questions, please send me a K-mail. Oops, one last thing. For all of you Star Trek and Star Wars fans out there, something to smile to get you on your way.